It's been a super show from South Africa's 36-year-old Dean Elgar, and that puts his team and his country in a commanding position in this first Test match at the end of day two. South Africa are 11 runs ahead. They're 256 for 5 in response to India's 245, courtesy a magnificent 100 from KL Rahul, second at Centurion, seventh away from home. But the day belonged to Dean Elgar, 140 not out, still very much there. Debut Test half century for David Bellingham as well. South Africa 256 for 5. Play had to be stopped early because of bad light. We are then. South Africa lead by 11 runs. And to find out what happened and a deeper analysis of it, Dinesh Karthik joins us, a man who's been rubbing shoulders with Olympic gold medalists these days. DK will have to, bear with me. Not an Olympian, not a champion by any stretch. DK, it's been a busy day for you, but I know that you watched the action very, very closely. Not a day that India will be very happy with.
Definitely not. Look, I think when we saw the pitch yesterday, we got the feeling that there's going to be a lot in offer for the fast bowlers, which there was. But I don't think they bowled as well as they could. It was one of those days when the consistency in length didn't really come through. The efficiency of the bowling unit as a four-pronged bowling unit, the fast bowlers, you just see things just falling through a little bit. But, having said all of that, credit to Dean Elgar. I thought he played a wonderful knock. It was one of those knocks which was laced with a lot of Dean Elgar kind of shots, which was leaving a ball, playing tough cricket, just putting away the ones that was close to him or the ones that were really short. David Bellingham, I thought again, for his debut game, played beautifully as well. So quite the day that belonged to South Africa and a very commanding position in this test match. Also, it's a very interesting place to bat and bowl, this Centurion.
Yes, he loves playing at the Centurion. He's hit 100, I think, at every South African ground he's played at. But today he seemed to be playing on a different pitch. Lots of runs square of the wicket, some gorgeous cover drives and that short arm pull as well. Even Bumrah and Siraj had no answer. They had no idea how to stop this man.
Yeah, 31 overs amongst both our premier fast bowlers. Couldn't exactly get, they got 2 wickets each, which isn't bad. But on this pitch, when they bowl 31 overs together, you'd think that they'd pick up a little more than four. Having said that, as I said, it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of skill to be able to be doing what a Dean Elgar does. And, he is worth his weight in gold for South Africa. If you look at the bowling attacks as well, Shardul Thakur, a touch expensive along with Prasidh Krishna, but Mohammad Siraj and Bumrah doing a bulk of the bowling, but just picking up the 4 wickets. Ashwin bowling the least amongst everybody, which again beckons the question: was India right in obviously going with uh, a four-pronged fast bowling attack even in the World Test Championship final? Because you can see as a captain, Rohit Sharma on these kind of pitches is reluctant to bowl spin so much with the ineffectiveness of spin at this point of time. We saw both teams hardly using spin. South Africa didn't really use spin at all. India, because of the advantage of having an Ashwin around, gave a few overs, and a left-hander was batting, but still, have to say that there was not too much of an impact he could have created in that kind of a pitch. It was a fast bowler's dream, that kind, the Centurion pitch, but also seems to be Dean Elgar's dream ground.
Yes, we will talk a lot more in detail about what India did right with the ball. Rohit Sharma's calls as captain. Okay, we'll talk about that a lot more in detail. But Dean Elgar, why was he effective and the others weren't? What was it that was special about the way he approached this pitch? It was very severe. In fact, in his 101, he had some 17, 18, 19 boundaries. So he was, as El Siva Ramakrishnan would often say on commentary, he's dealing in boundaries. It was that kind of an inning. So why did Dean Elgar do or manage to do what he did and the others didn't?
If you had to dissect Dean Elgar's batting, he's a very old school batter in a modern game today. What he does have is a very simple technique, very minimal movements. He's very crouched in his stance. He has a backlift which is already up. All he has to do is bring it down on the ball. If you do look at a lot of players, they'll have it close to their hips. The bat will be in line with the hips. So as the bowler bowls, the bat swing will then start. It'll go up and then come down. Whereas Dean Elgar, because he's already crouched and he has his hands high and up, all he has to do is bring the bat down on the ball. So the power associated with shot making will be far lesser compared to other players. But what does come with this kind of a technique is the efficiency of putting away the close ones, and most importantly, the ability to leave a lot of balls. As an opener, I think he's one of those guys who's very gutsy. If you do see how he bats, he get beaten plenty of times. He'll get a few body blows, but when it's full, he'll put it away. When it's short, he has that short arm jab where he just brings the bat down on the ball. He's a very efficient opener, one that might not look very good, one that might not be very pleasing to the eye, so to say, but one that can be really effective on some tough pitches as well.
Yes, Dean Elgar was part of a magnificent century partnership with a debutant, David Bedingham. Scored 56, 7 boundaries, 2 sixes, or 40 of those runs came in fours and sixes at 131 run partnership between these two. Really, in a sense, took the game away from India when they had 3 wickets down. Now, Bedingham didn't really look like he was a test debutant. He's so soothing, so pleasing to the eye. Some gorgeous shots there from him.
He's been around for some time in South African cricket. He's been biding and waiting his time. Maybe it's come a little late for by his standards because he's been doing well in domestic cricket. And when you play in South Africa, you're born up on those wickets. You know what to do to get runs, and that was very evident. A very good player of the pull shot, very strong of it. Very good player of a flick shot. So his leg side game is very strong. Apart from which, on the offside, he has the cover drive when you bowl full, and the strength seems to be the back foot punch of the offside. So he's got a game that is very a strong square of the wicket, but also one that is very effective and efficient in South African pitches. He's been brought up on a diet of playing on those kind of bouncy pitches. You can see it wasn't like he was all at sea. He kind of knew what shots to play and what to do, which tells you that he's a guy who is waiting for his opportunity, just lurking in the corner, and when he's got it, he's made best use of it.
Yes, now we can take a look at the Indian bowling stats at the end of day two. Now, there were two pairs, clearly very different in skill and pedigree. And it was very evident in the way the pairing of Siraj and Bumrah bowled and what Krishna and Shardul Thakur did. It looked like they were bowling on different continents.
Chalk and cheese. It's a good analogy at this point of time. Shardul and Prasidh Krishna going for close to 118 runs in their 27 overs. On the other hand, Bumrah and Siraj going for just 111 in their 31 overs. So it tells you that not only were they economical in many ways, yes, I think Siraj was a tad bit expensive, especially in the last spell, but they also bowled some brilliant balls through that. And you could see every time they were on bowling, they were in the middle of a spell, you got the feeling that they could get you a wicket or two. Whereas with Shardul or Prasid, you had to wait for a batter to make a mistake. Whereas you got to say that Siraj and Bumrah in many ways made the batsman commit a mistake with the lengths they bowled, with the way they were able to get the ball to seam. As I said, it's a very Centurion is a pretty tough pitch to bat on. Also, a very interesting pitch to bowl on because unlike other venues in the world, the seam movement that you get can be prodigious. So when that happens, a lot of the times, if you don't get the length or the line right for that, you could end up looking good but not effective enough. And I think Indians, especially Prasidh and Shardul, went through a little bit of that, where they were kind of trying to find their feet in Centurion, where it doesn't react similarly to how the other pitches react, and that was very evident. And that's why when they went at a session, then the second session for about 4.39 runs and over, 145 runs is plenty. And it tells you that that was a session where South Africa took the game away from India. They were 194 for one, if you do look at the score. For three rather, at the end of at close to tea. They in a way pulled it back post that. So it was one of those days when the fast bowlers didn't get it right, the inexperience showing. But most importantly, it also tells you Centurion, a good place to bowl, but can be a tough place to bowl as well. Not one that is very similar to the conditions where you get abroad, where you can just move a ball and get a wicket. You need to hit the right lengths.
Only 8 overs of Ashwin.
I understand where you're getting at, Manish. And as I said at the top of the show, I feel that it is a pitch where the spinners are not going to have too much of effectiveness. And I don't know why I use the word spinners. There is just the one playing today. So spinner is not going to have effectiveness. Um, and that was why the reluctance as well, probably even in the World Test Championship that happened on a green pitch, the spinner's effectiveness might not have been there. Now, you can always counter question me asking, what about Nathan Lyon? Then I think, being brought up on a diet of what happens in Australian soil, it's a little different, and they have a very set bowling attack, whereas India is slightly more flexible with how they operate. And it would have been interesting to see whether they would have gone with Ashwin or whether they would have stuck with Jadeja and Shardul if in case, Jadeja was fit. But having said that, Ashwin tried. I think in the first over when he did bowl to Tony Dzorzi, you got the feeling that he was all at sea. So there was a wicket lurking around the corner, but it wasn't exactly the case post tea. And they came out and batted well. Credit to them as well. But overall, a day which will not please the fast bowlers too much. Let's put it that
Somehow,
way.
fans on social media who are sort of far removed from all the action and at times often look at the have-nots than the haves. And pretty much everywhere I saw one word, one name being remembered: Mohammad Shami. How big a miss is he?
Huge. The way Mohammad Shami has gone about things in this year, purple cap in the IPL, the efficient bowler even in Asia Cup. It tells you that the man has grown in stature as a bowler, as a leader of the pack, and he is an able lieutenant to Jasprit Bumrah. And the fact that he wasn't around today, I mean, imagine him with the bolt upright seam on this kind of a pitch would have been a handful to bat. And I can promise you, he would have definitely got a few wickets. And Indian team dearly misses him. The fact that he has an ankle injury and couldn't get on the plane to go to South Africa will be hurting them tonight.
Well, South Africa at the end of day two are 11 runs ahead now. The scenario would have been worse, could have been worse if it wasn't for that man, Kannor, Lokesh, Rahul. Another 100, another Boxing Day 100, another centurion 100 for that man, KL Rahul, batting at number 6 only for the second time in his career. Gorgeous 100, especially the way he got to that triple figure mark. KL Rahul, once again, showing the world what he's made of. It's something about people named Rahul. They just turn up and do what the team wants them to.
Always team men and KL Rahul, the more you look at him, you realize why people rate him so highly. It's a very rare skill what he has, the ability to switch gears. And when he does switch gears, he can play some gobsmacking shots. Today, the uppercut of Jasprit Bumrah, the shot that he brought up his 100 with an absolute slap across the face when it, sailed over mid wicket. So he's got the shots. He is one that has been backed over a period of time with the belief that he's got the skills to deliver. And boy, when he plays an innings like this, you got to sit back and think, I completely understand. It's very justifiable why you guys have put so much faith in a KL Rahul. And the beauty about KL Rahul post his injury when he's come back is how well he is dealt with pressure. It was a situation where sometimes Team India needed somebody like him who could really string together a partnership, absorb the pressure, and he's done that wonderfully well. The batting coach Vikram Rathore came yesterday and said that's been, he's been the go-to man for India when it comes to pressure. Yet again today, showing how it is done to learn to bat with the tail. It's an art in itself, and he did it really well. Yeah, and he's taken India to a score which I thought was a very, very good score. I didn't see 245 coming as we sat here yesterday. But when you see that score today, and then you see how well South Africa's batted, it tells you that it was a tough pitch to start on, but probably it's gotten a little better to bat on.
Yes, KL ensure India got 10 more than you had predicted last night, but 88 of those 101 runs came in boundaries, 14 fours and 4 sixes. Now, very often, KL Rahul seems to surprise people on the outside who read too much into body language. This guy has some unbelievable shots to be able to hit a six on the onside the way he did, to get to the 100, that six over cover yesterday as well. There is a fair bit of strength in that wiry body.
Oh, for sure. The fact that he's got 700s outside of India tells you what a high caliber player he is. He isn't one that lets go of any situation in an easy manner. And he's a cricketer who's got an extremely bright future in any format that he chooses to play. And he just feels like he's one of those guys who can just find the calmness required in an absolute storm, and he's done it time and time again. He's shown in the World Cup, he's shown in the Asia Cup, and today he's showing us in red ball cricket as to why he's so useful. And I get the feeling that even if Rishabh Pant comes back, KL Rahul will still be a middle order batter who can really contribute in Test cricket in a very, very useful manner for Team India. He's going to be one of those trustworthy players under trying conditions and trying circumstances mostly. And he'll always find a way to get India out of a big hole. And he's done it in this test in the first innings. And I have a feeling that he's going to repeat that in some form, shape in the second innings as well.
Well, you use the word trustworthy from him for him. He's trusting as well because he's able to get runs of the tailenders managed to add 81 with the tail end, with number 8, 9, and 10. 24 of those came from the very gutsy, the very daredevil Shardul Thakur as well. So, DK, you can tell us a bit more about the art of batting with a number 8, 9, or 10. What's it like, and how well did KL Rahul do it?
So when you bat with a tail ender, the first thing that you need is absolute clarity what you want to do. And KL Rahul's plan pretty much was simple, that he would try and probably bat the first half of the over, and if there's a single to be taken, he will. But he was going to trust the batter at the other end as well, because that's the only way we could get a good score. And he upped a gear, but he wasn't in any sort of panic or hurry to not run a single or try to take on a ball which probably wasn't there. He just upped the gear, held his calm, and made sure anything that was served up in his half, which is about 2 meters away from him, he was just going to go for it. And he kept doing that consistently in the second half of his innings, and he did that really well. But the clarity to back and trust the lower order batter to deliver as well in the last two balls of the over was very, very good. And most importantly, when he did decide to play the big shot, it remained hit, didn't it?
Yeah. India ended day one at 208 for it, and South Africa would have hoped to really wrap the tail up very quickly. It wasn't to be. 37 runs more added. Koji Jansen entered the wicket start after really dry spells on day one. Uh, Gave a 25 runs too many, South Africa?
Um, yeah, a little bit. I think Coetzee was a touch expensive. He couldn't get his length as well as he wanted. South Africa ideally would have liked to stop India around 180, because when you're 121 for six, giving 60 runs for the last 4 wickets was great. But with the way KL Rahul is batting, you would have said, okay, let's try and stop them 215 around that score. But the fact that he was able to take India to 245 says, a lot about how well he batted as well. And if you do look at the fact that just the four fast bowlers bowled, they keep rotating the fast bowlers, the fact that it was a rain as well. But overall, an effort which was headlined by just Kagiso Rabada and Nandre Berger. Both bowled well today. Nandre Berger getting KL Rahul's wicket right at the back end today. And Coetzee just got the wicket of Siraj, and was a bit expensive, must admit.
When there are only 245 runs on the board from the batting side, the captain of that side is often the man in focus. And we've got a tough question on Rohit Sharma, and it's coming DK's way in the hot spot. So then, DK, straight away, was Rohit Sharma's captaincy slightly off the boil today with his bowling plans? I suppose this question comes because Rohit Sharma did not start with Siraj and Bumrah in the second session. He went with Prasidh Krishna and Shardul Thakur instead.
I think it's very. It can be a bit unfair to Rohit to say that he had a bad day in terms of rotating bowlers. Did his team have a bad day? I definitely think so. But when he went with Prasidh, and why he would have gone with that choice is the fact that he's bowled Bumrah and Siraj for X amount of overs. He's expecting them to bowl again in the second session as well. So if he had just burnt them out, it would have become harder knowing that there was a longer day at play. And the fact that Ashwin wasn't going to bowl plenty of overs, which was very evident with the way he rotated Ashwin as well. So I wouldn't fault him. Though I feel sometimes the trust shown in a Bumrah or a Siraj, which is understandable, is probably not the same amount that he has in a Prasidh or a Shardul. I think as a captain, I can completely understand and empathize with where he comes from. But did he have his best day? Maybe not. But also, I think the bowling was not up to the mark for us to judge Rohit Sharma as a captain. In Test cricket, the one thing that he's promised us, or rather, in his press conferences, he said is he'll be more attacking. That's something that he's felt that he really believes in, which he tried. Just the fact that he had the third slip on when Tony De Zorzi was batting. At that point of time, even though it was a big partnership, tells you that he's thinking correctly. But, sometimes you need the skill set of the bowlers to come through as well.
Yes, the wickets of Bedingham, bowled Siraj, Kyle Verreynne, the wicketkeeper as well, caught Rahul bowled Prasidh, has allowed India to get into the tail. We don't know if Temba Bavuma will bat. Coetzee, Rabada and Nandre Berger to follow South Africa at this stage at the end of day two are 11 runs ahead. What to store on day two, we'll find out from DK in fast forward. So then, given the conditions are what they are, and assuming they will be similar tomorrow, what do India do with their bowling plans? It's a 66 over old ball. DK, what should India's game plan be, especially in the first hour on day three?
For sure, to start with Bumrah and Siraj. I think it's very, very important to try and get a wicket early so that you try and bring the bowlers in when the new ball is on. So try and bowl them for 3 overs each, and then for the next 8 overs, just try and get Prasid and Siraj to do Prasid and Shardul to do the rest of the work. But the moment the new ball is on, that's when India start talking again. The one thing that they need to do is make sure in the next 14 overs they don't give more than 30 runs. So that will keep the lead to less than 40. And then if you can get them within the next 25 runs, then you can probably stop South Africa with a lead of just 65. Then if you're able to put a good enough total, that's when you can apply the pressure back on South Africa. But having said all of this, there are so many things that needs to fall in place for that to happen. For the moment, you have to say South Africa very much in the driver's seat.
Well, India will want to wrap things up as quickly as possible. South Africa will want to extend the lead as much as possible. What's the kind of lead you reckon South Africa will get? This is a clear-cut prediction. It doesn't have to depend on cricketing logic, but just on a hunch, what's the number we're looking at tomorrow?
I have a feeling they'll get close to 75 runs lead. If Dean Elgar falls early, that's going to be great. Otherwise, 75, 80 runs is a possibility, and that could really hamper India, because if they manage to get 2-3 wickets before that 80-run mark for when India bats, then that means India are in many ways heading towards trouble in this test match.
Yes, it looks like a result test match. It looks like a test match. They may not go the distance of 5 days. At this stage, though, at the end of day two, here's where things stand. KL Rahul's 100 taking India to 245. Dini Elgar doing even better, 140 not out, batting overnight. He'll be back tomorrow morning with Marco Jansen, who's not out on 3. South Africa 256 for 5, lead by 11 runs, 10 by Mamua. The next batsman in, followed by Geral Kodzi Rabada and Nandre Berger. That's where things stand. DK and I will be back at the end of stumps on day 3 to look back at what they call the moving day in a test match. Do join us on Cricbuzz Chatter at the end of day 3. Bye for now.